What's up, guys? Welcome to the Chess Giant. This is Solomon Riddell, and in today's video I'm going to be showing y'all a fun little chess gambit that you can play against the Scandinavian defense. We're starting off the game with e4 and against the Scandi playing the crazy looking move knight f3, reaching the Tennison Gambit. Now I do want to mention this is not a sound gambit. With perfect play, Black will get the edge, but it's extremely easy for Black to fall into trouble fast within the first 8 to 10 moves, especially when not well prepared. Now, Black doesn't have to take the pawn on e4. I mean, Black could play a move like d4, in which case I do think White is clearly better following bishop c4, putting some pressure on that f7 pawn. Black could also just go into a French defense or Carl Kahn defense type system, and we're just playing normal chess. But I thought in today's video we would cover the accepted variation because we all know after moves like e6 or c6, White is completely fine. Against d takes e4, we're now going to play knight g5, attacking the vulnerable pawn on f7 and also attacking this centralized pawn on e4. Black doesn't have to defend it. Black could play a move like e5, attacking our knight and allowing us to equalize a material, in which case I do think Black has the slight edge. But the whole point of the Tennison Gambit is that we're giving Black a pawn, and we're hoping Black tries to hold on to it at all costs. In today's video, we're going to cover two moves, knight f6 and bishop f5, both defending the pawn. Let's first cover knight f6, and now we as White really have two options. Bishop c4 is by far the best move, but I thought we'd real quick go over d3 because there's a cool trap here that has actually been covered by Gotham Chess on his channel, and it covers e takes d3. And now we're going to take back with the bishop. Now here we're down a pawn, but we do have an active bishop pair on d3 and c1, slicing down on the king side of the board. And honestly, Black might get annoyed with this knight on g5 and play a move like h6. I mean, this seems like a pretty good move. I'm up a pawn, just get out of here, knight. But we're not going to get out of here. We're going to take the pawn on f7, attacking both the queen and the rook. And if king takes f7, we now have bishop g6 check, attacking the king, and following king takes g6. At least for a second, we're down two pieces, but now our queen flies down the board, takes that queen off, and here we have ourselves a 1 position. Now, I do want to mention that after the move e5, we have to be extremely careful. If we take the bishop here, now Black is the one with the advantage with bishop b4 check, attacking our king on e1, ready to take our queen, and we just found ourselves in a losing position. Similarly, if we take the pawn on c7, Black is better again after knight c6, and if you look at our queen, it actually can't move. The next move, Black's going to play something like knight e8 or knight d5, trap our queen, and we have ourselves in a lost position. So all that to say, if you see the move e5, do not take the bishop, do not take the pawn, simply get out of there with a move like queen d3 check, attacking the king on g6, and after bishop f5, continue with queen b3, attacking this pawn on b7, and now we simply have a queen for two pieces. We're going to continue with knight c3, bishop e3, maybe castle kingside or even queenside, and we have ourselves a 1 game. Black can resign here. Going back to this position where Black played the move h6, obviously Black doesn't have to play this, especially if they're aware of this knight takes f7 trap. But even if Black plays a move like e6, I do think that this opening system is a ton of fun to play. We're going to continue with queen f3, a key idea, putting pressure on the b7 pawn and honestly just activating the queen towards a kingside attack. After a move like bishop e7, we're going to continue with knight c3, castling kingside, bishop f4, and if a move like knight c6, now we're going to castle queenside. The rook now has vision on the queen on d8, so we're actually threatening bishop takes h7 with check, attacking the king on g8 and winning the queen. I do think here that the best move for Black is probably something like bishop d6, and I would give Black the slight edge, but this is a hard position to play with as Black. I mean, even if bishop d7 is played, it appears as if the queen is protected, but now we have knight takes h7. And following knight takes h7, we're going to take that knight off the board. And yeah, after king takes, we're down a piece, but we now have this key queen d3 check idea, attacking the king on h7 and attacking the bishop on d7. And following king g8, we're going to take that bishop off the board. We're now sitting at even material. We have a queen on the 7th rank supported by our d1 rook, a queen and a bishop, both attacking that c7 pawn, a knight that can come to either b5 or e4, and I love White's game here. All of those variations I showed you were pretty solid for White, so why doesn't White play this more? Well, the issue is in bishop g4, attacking our queen on d1. And this isn't losing, but this is the reason many people don't go with d3. You yourself can try it out and see how many people play bishop g4 against you. But now, more or less, queen d2 is forced, and black can just continue by taking the pawn, continuing with something like knight c6, followed by advancing in the center of the board with e5. Right now, black is a pawn ahead, and white doesn't have a ton to show for it. I would definitely give the edge to black. So that really covers why d3 is technically a mistake. Obviously, black can fall into the trap of taking here and then playing h6, in which case we're going to win a queen. But black, after d3, can just play bishop g4, then take the pawn, and black has a better game. So that's why many people go with bishop c4. And now we have a dead even position, but it's extremely easy for black to mess up. Our knight and our bishop both attack the pawn on f7, and the only move here that gives black equality is e6, in which case we're now going to play knight c3, both of our knights attacking the pawn on e4, and really the only way to hold on to this pawn is with queen d4, but I don't like this move for black because we just play queen e2. We're defending the bishop on e4. We now have 3 pieces all attacking that e4 pawn, and after a move like knight bd7, we're just going to take that pawn off the board. If a move like e5, there's no reason to be afraid. We're just going to move that bishop back to b3. And if black ever takes the knight on e4, we'll just take back. We have ourselves a nice game. We're going to continue with moves like d3 and eventually get our bishop out to, say, e3, f4, or g5, castle kingside or queenside, and we have ourselves a pretty fun game here. So queen d4 trying to hold this position together really doesn't work. Black has to accept that this pawn is about to fall off, and now we equalize a material by taking that pawn off the board. It's actually in black's best interest to take this centralized knight, in which case we're going to take back. And now after a move like bishop e7, I personally like advancing in the center of the board with d4. We could play d3, but I think d4 gives us a much better space advantage and really a good hold on e5 and c5 here in the game. d4 also works well with our bishop, giving this light squared bishop more flexibility. Following a move like castling kingside, we can continue with c3. After a6, go with queen e2. We're just naturally developing here. And if a move like bishop c6, we can play bishop f4. There's really not a ton that black can do, from stopping d4, c3, bishop f4, queen e2. I mean, this is just natural developmental chess. And following knight d7, we could even castle queenside. This is a very aggressive option. I do think that castling kingside is probably the safer and better option. But following rook e8, we can now put both of our rooks right in the center of the board. And it's not like this position is completely winning for white or anything, but I would give the edge to white. I mean, we have a strong bishop here, a strong centralized knight, a solid queen on e2, a rook on d1 ready to pounce down, as well as e1. Our centralized rooks here are very strong, especially if things break open, and we have ourselves a good solid middle game position. As I mentioned before, this knight f6 move is not the only way for black to defend the pawn. Black could also play a move like bishop f5, in which case we're going to play again knight c3, both of our knights attacking that e4 pawn. And following a move like knight f6, we can now play d3. Some of you are probably wondering, why on earth would we ever play d3 in this position? I mean, black could just take it. Well, now we have queen f3, and we have ourselves a pretty interesting position. I think a lot of players here with the black pieces would be extremely uncomfortable, especially in speed chess. I mean, we have a queen on f3, attacking this bishop, attacking the pawn on b7. Many players may even play bishop c8, going all the way back, in which we're simply going to take that pawn on d3, and we have ourselves a better game. But I think the best move is probably something like maybe e6 defending the bishop, or even queen c8 defending the bishop and defending the pawn, in which case we can simply take that pawn on d3. Following bishop takes d3, we capture back, and now we're just going to naturally develop with bishop f4, knight g e4, centralizing our knight. And after a move like castling kingside, we are down a pawn here and we're ahead in development. But since we're down a material, we want to create as many imbalances as possible. We want to mix things up and castle queenside. Give ourselves a hyper dynamic and interesting game. If a move like rook d8, we can just take that knight off the board. And after bishop takes f6, continue with queen g3, forming a battery ram with our queen and our bishop attacking the c7 pawn. We're down a pawn here, but we do have an active game. This queen on g3 is attacking g7. We have an active rook on d1, and this knight on c3 could potentially be a key attacking piece, coming to either b5, putting even more pressure on c7 or centralizing it to e4, attacking the bishop on f6, I think white has a playable game here. If you'd like to learn more about the triple Muzio Gambit, an absolutely crazy variation, click the video to the left. If you'd like to learn more about chess openings in general, click the playlist to the right. Leave a comment to let me know what other videos you'd like to see covered on this channel. And as always, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.